So last week saw Ronnie O'Sullivan become a 6-time world champion, and as you mentioned before, you were in the same vicinity as Stephen Hendry, 7 times world champion. So the first question is, do you think Ronnie's going to get, at the age of 45, do you think he's going to get the 7th world title?
Do I think or do I want him to? Is the question.
I'll ask you both.
There's no reason why he can't. There's absolutely no reason why he can't. 45 is young. And I'm going to say that because I'm the same age. I'm 46 in a few months. So he's super fit. I don't know if you've noticed that running is one of his hobbies. And I think he mentioned in a recent interview there that he was just, he wasn't doing too much. He was just running about 40 miles a week. Yeah, that was my reaction was, wow, that's not too much. So look, let's face it, he's super fit. He's still at the peak of his game. He's just won the World Championship. There's no reason why he can't win a 7th one, which would equal Stephen Hendry's 7 world titles. So, do I want him to do it? I don't mind, actually. But interestingly, the story was that when I think it was about 12 years old, I was playing in Prestatyn in Wales, and in one of the national tournaments, and I just put out a very top English amateur player at the time at a junior, because we were in the junior tournaments, and I was having dinner with my dad, and Ronnie's dad came up to my dad at that point in time and asked if if we could send myself down to play Ronnie.
Fantastic.
And me only being 12 at the time, my dad was like, no, I can't send them down, I don't have time, I'm too busy working, and he said, well, you can send them down, we'll look after them. My dad never ever done it, but hey, who knows, we might have been practice partners, but I can't complain with Stephen Hendry, so both of them are elite.
Yeah, I think there's the comparison between Hendry and O'Sullivan. You would say that O'Sullivan is eccentric, left hand, right hand, and they're two very different approaches, you would say. I mean, probably Steve Davis on the other end of the scale as well. But how do you think Ronnie O'Sullivan's almost laissez-faire appearance disguises the amount of work that he must put in underneath everything?
Oh, listen, I know that for a fact. I know because every single snooker player, the amount of work that we put in, especially when you're at that level, the amount of work that they put in, the amount of hours of solid concentration. And you've got to remember that snooker's a game that when you're at the table, nobody can affect what you're doing. Right? It's not like tennis where someone can affect where you go in the very next hit. So it takes, it's a bit like golf, it takes long bouts of concentration to get to that elite level. And so yes, I would say that O'Sullivan's the most gifted, naturally talented. But I'd still say, and it might be me looking through the tinted glasses of being a Scotsman myself, but I'd still say that Stephen Hendry was probably one of the best players, if not the best player that's ever lived. Just for the simple fact that I think he's got, at both of the peaks, I would say Hendry would have slightly more edge on consistency in the mental game, but I would guess that on the flip side of that, O'Sullivan could beat anybody in the world when he's on his. So it's very tight margins, small margins, but I'd say that don't be put off by his, as you mentioned, laissez-faire attitude and things like that he does. He's that hard work is going in there all the time. You don't get to that level without hard work. And yes, he's gifted and talented, but you have to put in the hard work. Gifted and talented doesn't get you to that level. The hard work is as well. And they say that nowadays that in sport, like, hard work ethic is just the qualifier to get into, to qualify for these type of things. What you really need to do is that little bit extra, that added extra that others aren't doing, whether that's in your mental game, whether that's putting in the extra hours, whether that's the purposeful practice on a specific thing. And that was what I noticed in some of the interviews. I think it was Alan McManus was talking about, he saw Ronnie practicing behind the scenes, and he's now really on purposeful practice, practicing one specific thing that's not easy to do for long bouts of time, and that was interesting to me. So it's no surprise that he's won his 6th title.